The ninth part of Atreyos, the leader of the Speartons, Season 2, got published in the 1st of March. And what a great way to begin this month than just react to this new episode we have just gotten and dissect it under a microscope. And I'm gonna say, out of all the parts we've gotten now, as an individual episode of its own, I believe this is the best the comic just has to offer. And why is that? So, let's hop right in. As you can see, from part 8, we heard and learned that Baron has... Well, we already knew about the fusion matrices and their purpose was to combine non-elemental creatures. But now, the way Baron has transferred elemental powers to his own troops, and probably this has a connection to the fusion matrix's creation, how he has stolen elemental powers for himself for some sort of a scientific experiments, and also to strengthen his own army. And we heard that he betrayed the Earth Elementals, and we got this really beautiful backstory by Earth Elemental named Zia. And we get to know that Baron has also enslaved. Or in this episode, we see that whole scene getting even more expansion. Because first, we see more elemental masters who has been kidnapped by him, but also we hear them reflecting on their life stories. And we see that they indeed care about the people, which shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But also that they indeed are afraid what is meant to be. And it's an alright on its own, but also great expansion for something we already had a connection to. And so, Baron himself steps on the stage. And he tries to appear friendly, but then, of course, he's not built like that. And he asks that, hey, what if you'd give your parts of your powers to me? And so he can give them to Adekai. But because the elementals and Baron's shared past, they sure disagree with it. And guess how that ends up? Baron ends up killing one of them and sucking their powers completely to his own hands. Or at least in the weapons he has, and armor pieces. This might sound kind of a nitpick, but it's one of the very rare negatives this episode has that... what was it? That he literally has to suck them empty. Like... Okay, it gives more grounded view on the elemental creatures that they have limited amount of power at their disposal that they can share around. But when Baron just simply sucks one of their masters empty, that means one of the strongest beings is now out of his hands. And sure, if there's a way that the elemental creatures themselves can create offspring, it is explained by part 8. And so maybe that creates more possibilities to more feed his troops, but that is not sure, that is just speculation, so I would still count it as a minor negative. Something that can be fixed, but with the masters themselves, it's really all not that easy. But hey, we actually see Baron being even more Leon grown up than I initially thought. So, he tries to comply with the fact that he has turned this Iblis he has turned into a complete iblis and demon. But he just copes with it that I've had such a past with you as well, and that not with the Elementals. I've had such a past already that it doesn't matter. The world has been a demon to me. Now I will be the demon to the world, and that is a next level villainy, because you are trying to make yourself look sympathetic, but at the same time, you yourself are creating yourself a complete irredeemable monster. And along the way, you're just gonna create more and more suffering that cannot be prevented, that cannot be altered. And at the same time, you're just trying to justify it with that the world has also been this kind of to me, without even doing any sort of attempts to become a better person. That's pretty next level of villainy here. And so the scene is over. Adikai's gears are now prepared and charged. But then we get this scene with Diro, who is smithing himself a new axe. And damn, I love this. Because the scene where Atreyos destroyed Diro's axe, it was such a waste. Like, it made Diro look like a complete weakling when even his own signature weapon gets destroyed, the first time we even see it being used. But now, we see that Diro can actually forge himself a new one. Sure, there has to be some sort of limitations to it once again, so it doesn't break the complete universe. But then again, it's not all that bad. And it really means that the scene that I have a very huge distaste ends up not being even all that impactful. And hey, is this the first time we see Baron treating Diro with actual respect? Something we have not seen yet. But so, the introduction is over. Let's get to the core of this episode, the Colosseum. And we see Adikai being handed the lightning gears Baron just charged to him. And finally we can get into the Colosseum itself. Adikai gets there, but then, for everyone's surprise, we see that Lithium, out of all people, is there to fight against him. This is where the episode's name, Voltaic's Showdown, comes. And the battle's alright on its own. The fight choreography is solid and all that. And it's really flashy images and all. But that's not the only appeal of it. It is the appeal which shows new depth for Baron and also Adikai himself. And so, Lithium, well, Baron describes him as the demon who tried to destroy the world. But then again, Lithium almost killed himself while he was trying to defeat the powerful V, or the ultimate V. His name was retconned during this episode, by the way. And so, the fight can begin. And Adikai, before the fight and during it, shows a clear distaste and hatred towards Speartons specifically, because he was one, and Baron manipulated him to believe that he was betrayed by them, and that I am saving you, I am gifting you something they could never give to you, and all that, which are lies. They are confirmed by the author himself, or herself, but the way Baron makes his lies look like they are true, it is truly fascinating and compelling. But so, getting back on point, what else there is to be discussed? Well, Adekai says that he has been betrayed and he hates the Speartons now. But then Lithium, obviously because he himself even is a Spearton, tries to question this narrative, but to no avail. Adekai has just fallen way too low, and he's just beyond saving at this point with just simple speaking. Especially when Baron constantly is reinforcing the narrative Adekai has in his own head. And he even claims that Lithium is the one who's lying. And I really can't blame Adekai for believing Baron and not believing in Lithium. Because for all he knows, Lithium is just this evil man who tried to destroy the world. But then again, Baron is someone who is gifted all these new powers that are so powerful to him, and that he just can't, but he doesn't even resist them. They are just something so strong to him. And so we get a phenomenal scene when Adekai is about to defeat Lithium. And we finally see Adekai turning from himself Adekai to Voltrakai, he calls himself. And oh boy, there's not only is the scene beautifully made, the process and realization that, or not realization, but the process which Adekai goes through to turn into Voltrakai, and I consider them two different persons. So it is just sad, because Adekai, he was the Chad of season 1, and the one reply I made on the comics comments, it speaks for itself. I'll show it on the screen. But so now, when you can read it, I'll also express some other of my thoughts. So you remember Adekai being that Chad himself who fought alone alongside with his own friends, and he was really willing to go far. Like, he went really far just to protect Spearos and the other Speartons. But now, when his life story is altered in his own head, he's been presented lies and curses that are presented as gifts. And he even has to fight against a Spearton, who then he's fed lies that the Spearton is a liar and all Speartons are these evil beings that they hold no honor. But at the same time, Adekai is actually turning into the person he describes the Spearton as. He's nothing more than a hate-filled, and a man filled with hate and self-pity and resentment. It follows a similar pattern to Crazy J's Marokai, but it's used, I believe it's going to be used for different purposes. But it doesn't matter, because it just is sad. Because he believes he's fighting against something evil, and he's fighting against traitors, while he doesn't even realize it, that he's becoming just like the traitors he's fighting alongside, but also he's becoming the honorless traitor he describes the Speartons as. I never even realized this before, other just during making this reveal. Oh shit. But so, Adekai defeats Lithium, and he stabs his new scythe through Lithium's stomach, but then Lithium just does,
"I always come back."
And he's completely fine. Apparently. But then, when Baron is constantly talking about, here you can see your new leader, and here you can see him proving himself that he indeed is worthy in my lines. Okay, speaking of Baron, let's move on to him. Because the coincidence that I used Leon Bronev as a prime example how you should write Diro to make him work in the stories. Excuse me. I used Baron. We see Baron actually being the Leon Bronev of his own troops. And I'll present one comment that explains it all. But they're just so incredibly similar. And I'm just gonna call Baron Bronev from this point on. I just can't help myself. But so, Baron Bronev. Oh my god, where should I even begin with? Well, what if we'd begin and talk about his key difference between Atreyos. See, Voltrakai is this dark mirror of Adikai, and pretty much everything Adikai stood for is now twisted and turned against it in Voltrakai. But what about Baron? So I've already compared him with Atreyos, and they indeed are opposites. But there is one thing I left completely untouched. What Atreyos and Baron get out of people around them. Atreyos, Frostfire and Ally being perfect examples. Atreyos, he doesn't see the best in people, that's not his trait. But he manages to bring out the best from people and actually enables them to grow. This is a prime example with Ares and how Atreyos kind of turns him back to the light and makes him actually an honorable man. But Baron, Mr. Bronev himself, he doesn't see his plan, what his plans end up costing. And so further, he only sees the worst in people, only torments his subordinates, except the scene with Diro from this episode. But so, he's also a man filled with self-pity and hatred around him. And it just fits in so well that he brings out the worst from people. Atreyos brings the better sides of them and manages to actually make people around him be better persons. But Baron Bronev, he only gets the worst out of them. He turns Adikai into Voltrakai, who is basically an dishonorable asshole, and it pretty much says everyone that all the virtues Adikai stood for are now gone with this hate-filled Voltrakai. And just take a look at the other subordinates who are under his deception. But so, that's my point. And what happens to Lithium after this? The episode ends with the Lithium being thrown into a cell once again, but because he did the
I always come back
move, so he doesn't get killed. And further, he meets a new friend. This character was leaked, but we only see his silhouette, so I'm not gonna spoil anything leaked yet. It's all about this part 9, so on its own, really solid. And I have presented my own criticisms. You can also criticize Voltrakai for being pretty much a copy and pasted Marokai, but is it really a problem? I wouldn't consider it yet a problem. But so, the only real issue I would even consider with this episode, aside from the elemental thing that was a bit weird, is the music. Don't prove me wrong, Fields of Memories and the ambush tutorial theme, they are good on their own, and I like them, they are bangers. But they just don't fit in. They just don't. Like, I listen Fields of Memories when I would restore a gun or something, not when I'm fighting in a big Colosseum over some authority place. But that's all I've got from the reviews part now. So, conclusion. 10 out of 10. No questions asked. This is darn phenomenal episode. And it really brings new depth to our villains. And especially Voltrakai, who has been absent pretty much since the beginning. And also, the thing I criticized from part 2, I didn't realize that Diro used completely different spells to revive Adikai and Atreyos' army, so there's that. But I have created a new and polished version of these reduced structures. So, now I'm going to list my favorite scenes from this part, and I'm not gonna list them in a boring way. I'm gonna add them with their own twist. Number 3. No, you demon. Yes, I am. But everyone also did the same to me in the past, right? But it doesn't matter. Let's just forget the past because we have to keep moving forward. By the way, I'm here because I want to ask for a little lightning element from you. You won't have it. I'd better die with my element than giving any little bit of my element to you. Then I would take your life with your element at once. What are you doing there? Oh, I am sorry, Great Baron. Since I managed to get the fusion matrix for you, I lost my axe because Atreyos cut that chain, so I forged a new axe for myself. It's okay. At least you managed to get the fusion matrix. When you're done, go to the top, because the show starts soon. Thanks a lot for your understanding, Your Majesty Great Baron. No, he didn't give it himself. He has stolen it from someone else's soul and gave it to you. You have been fed soul by him. What do you mean by that? Don't trust him. He's using deception power on you right now. All he said is just nonsense. That's it. I will never kill and trust any Spearton in this universe ever again. Please, you have to believe me. You're also a Spearton Adikai. I will not be deceived by anyone anymore. My name is not Adikai anymore. Adikai is who I used to be, but now he's dead. My name is now Voltrakai.